Good morning, everybody. Jeremy Brunansky here with Brunansky's Vlog, and it's time for another episode right here on YouTube. It's Monday morning. It's 10 a.m. PST. Let's talk some movies. We have got a lot to talk about today. First, let me go ahead and remind you guys to click the subscribe button if you haven't yet. And then when you click the subscribe button, hit the bell so you get the notifications when new content drops. Also, be sure you're following us on Twitter as well at Brunansky's Vlog. That's where I do some updates. If you are following, you saw yesterday how I threw some movie recommendations out for the World Series, right? So congratulations, Boston. Congratulations, everybody in that team, everybody in the headquarters, everybody in Boston, right? If you're a fan of the Red Sox, your team went home with the World Series last night. So congratulations to you guys. Big win, big accomplishment. And you saw on Twitter that I threw out a couple recommendations for films if you want to keep the baseball vibe energy going. So stay tuned. Later in the show, we're going to throw out even more recommendations for baseball films right here on this show. But we have got a couple things we need to address right up front before we get into this week's show. First, down below, if you expand the description box, you are going to see that we have all of the news stories that we are going to cover down there. So if you want to follow along, just hit the little box, expand it, and then you can just click the link and follow along with us. Also, down below, if you have any interest in starting your own YouTube channel, your own Twitch stream, your own Facebook Live, whatever content you want to create for the internet and throw up there onto the interwebs, I threw some recommendations down there to get you started. This is just some entry-level stuff. Most of it's pretty affordable, so go ahead and check that out. Those are all at the bottom. So once you get past all the news articles and everything like that, you'll find those links. Check them out. Again, thanks for joining us today. I'm Jeremy Brunansky. This is Brunansky's Vlog every Monday morning on YouTube at 10 a.m. PST. We talk movie news, movie reviews, and a little bit more. Now, this week, we have got a lot to talk about, as we always do. But most of that's not going to be movie news because I got out to the theater to see 3 different films this week. So we have got a movie review heavy episode this week. Plus, we're going to take a look at what's hitting theaters, what's arriving on DVD, and certified rad. So stay with us. Don't go anywhere. We've got a lot to talk about. We're going to jump into the news segment right now, and then we will get you guys off and back to your Monday morning. So again, thank you so much for joining me here. Let's go ahead and jump right now into the news. All right, there you go. Down below, you can see the ticker tape is running with all the honorable mentions. The honorable mentions, news stories that popped off that I thought were cool, but we didn't really have enough time in this 30-minute show, hopefully 30 minutes. That's what we aim for. In this 30-minute show to kind of cover everything that's going off. So follow down below. There's some interesting stories going on down there just to keep you informed. But we're going to take a look now at the weekend box office. So like you heard at the beginning of the show, I was able to get out to see 3 films this weekend. And AMC A-List is pretty great. So if you're a faithful watcher of the show, you know that I was using MoviePass for a really long time. Things got super weird with MoviePass. And then I just switched over to the AMC A-List, which is the subscription service that lets you see 3 movies a week, right? You pay 1 monthly fee, 3 movies a week. And I found out this past weekend that with A-List, you can also double feature. So I had a double feature day. So I got out and I went to go see Hunter Killer, which you'll hear about later in the show. Then the next day I was back at the theater and I got to see 2 films that day. Went in the morning and saw London Fields. Then took the afternoon, grabbed some lunch, got my reviews written, came back to the theater and saw Mid-90s. So 3 films this week coming to you. That's Mid-90s, London Fields, as well as Hunter Killer. So stay tuned. After the news segment, we're going to take a look more closely at those 3 films. But let's take a look at the weekend box office and let's see what you guys got out to the theaters to watch this past weekend. So these numbers, again, all down below in the description box. They're coming to us from Box Office Mojo. So the top 5 coming from number 5 up to number 1. We have got Hunter Killer coming in at number 5 at $6,650,000. Coming in at number 4, Goosebumps 2, $7,500,000. Number 3, Venom, $10,800,000. Number 2, A Star Is Born at $14,145,000. And coming in the number 1 spot, Halloween, with $32,045,000. So in its second week, Halloween continues to maintain that top spot. Is this really surprising? Not really, but I still kind of am surprised. I personally am surprised, but overall, I guess I shouldn't be, right? So Halloween, big franchise. There was a lot of hype on this film. The people who saw it seemed to like it. As far as everything is concerned with like cinema score and stuff like that, I got a B+. So the majority of people who went out to see it came back and they were like, yeah, this is actually pretty good. It crushed in the box office in week 1. It made an insane amount of money. It had a 58% drop, which is pretty big from week 1 to week 2. But again, right, it was Halloween weekend for the most part, because Halloween's this week, but all of the festivities and like that were pretty much going on this past weekend. So probably a lot of people who would go see the film a second or third time were out having revelries with their friends and family for the Halloween celebrations, costume parties, etc. So, I mean, is it really a big surprise that it's still in the number 1? I guess not, but that number, that percentage from week 1 to week 2 is pretty big, 58%. So when you look at that, I mean, that's telling, but I don't know, because it's got a B+, right? So when the people get out to the theaters like you and I, right, the important people, you and I, when we get out to the theaters to see these films and we come back to Cinema Score and we grade it with a B+, and then I see a 60% drop off, I kind of wonder what happened, right? Because if everybody liked it, for the most part, they gave it a B+, which is pretty good, but then there's a 60% drop off. I feel like there's a weird disconnect that's happening there, and I can't really quite place what happened, except for maybe, again, like I said, Halloween festivities, people got out and they were doing revelries with their friends, so maybe that took them away from the theaters, and that's why we saw that 60% drop. I don't know. It's just kind of confusing to see 60% when everybody who saw it liked it, because if, in my mind, if they liked it, why wouldn't they go back and see it a second time? But again, if they had Halloween plans, I guess it makes sense. But 60%, almost 60%. Leave your thoughts in the comments section about it. If you saw the film, are you surprised by an almost 60% drop from week 1 to week 2 with a B+ cinema score? Let me know. Number 2, A Star is Born. Really liked it. My review is up on the channel for that. Not surprised to see that it's still in the top 5. Venom, I don't get this movie. You can check out my review for that. I don't understand how it's still in the top 5. Who is going back and seeing this movie over and over again? If you're one of these people that's seen this movie now 2, 3, 4 times, leave your comments in the comments section below and let me know what it is about this film that you just love to death that you have to keep supporting it, because I personally had a lot of problems with the film. My review's up on the channel in the movie reviews playlist, so you can go ahead and check that out. But man, number 3, I don't get it. And it's 4th week. Very confusing for me. Coming to number 4, Goosebumps 2. We've talked about Goosebumps 2 before. I haven't seen it, but it's still doing well. It's still kind of that young adult kid family movie thing. So there's not a lot of that out right now. So not too surprising that it's in the top 10. A little surprised that it's still in the top 5. Hunter Killer. I really liked Hunter Killer. I was actually surprised at how fun that movie was. Now, Cinema Score, A-, which is really good, right? A-, but Rotten Tomatoes, out of 77 reviews, the critics scores gave it a 36% rotten. I don't know what their expectations were for this film when they went in. I thought the previews, I thought the trailers did a really great job of, this is what the film is. And that is exactly what the film was, plus more, right? There's even more to the film that wasn't in the trailers that really surprised me. So the trailers didn't do a good job of selling the film as a whole, but they did a good job of selling the tone of the film and the fun of the film, if that makes sense. But favorable audience score of 86%. So 77 reviews for critics at a 36% rotten, over 1,000 ratings from users, with an average of 4.3 out of 5 stars, landing it at an 86% favorable on Rotten Tomatoes from just users, right? So not the critics or anything like that, but yeah, so A- cinema score, 86%, still in the top 5. Really surprised at how low it did, though. It still came in the top 5, but coming in with only $6 million opening weekend, there's a lot of star power in this film. But again, I don't think the trailers did a good job of selling exactly how much fun is going to be in this movie and how layered the story is. You'll hear my full thoughts later on, but like I said, the trailers do a good job of kind of presenting the tone of the film. It's going to be a fun dude action flick. but there's a lot more to it that you'll hear about in my review later in the show. So if you saw it, you know exactly what I'm talking about, probably, right? It's art. All art is subjective, right? I've been in the arts my whole life. What I like, some people don't like. What other people like, I don't understand, right? Look at Venom. I don't get it, but a lot of people like you watching right now probably loved it. So there you go. Point proven. But yeah, Hunter Killer, lot of fun. Really happy to see it's in the top 5. Really surprised it's only at number 5. Definitely thought that should be higher. Definitely beating Venom. If we could switch those spots from number 3 to number 5 and just flip-flop those, that would make more sense in my mind. Really quick, just round out the top 10. Mid-90s coming at number 10. Night School, number 9. Smallfoot at number 8. First Man at number 7. The Hate You Give at number 6. Mid-90s coming in the top 10. Kind of surprised because I didn't see a lot of push for this film. And it's a pretty good film. I had one really big issue with it that you'll hear about later in my review. It kind of pulled me out of the film, and I was like, that's weird. So stay tuned for that. Do I give it a high 5? Do I not? Do I recommend you see it? Do I not? You'll have to wait for my review to find out. But seeing it's in the top 10 is kind of surprising because, like I said, I didn't really see a big marketing push for this film. It's in its second week. In its second week, it jumped in over 1,000 theaters. So it did a very limited release last week. And then this week was what you could consider the official launch of it, right? But like I said, I didn't really see a big marketing push for this film. I saw one trailer for it, which you can watch on the channel. It's in the movie trailer reviews playlist, where I give my thoughts about the trailer that I saw. And then I went and saw the film, right? I did the trailer review last week, and then this week I saw the movie. Like, that's how quick it was for me. So to see that it made it in the top 10, kind of surprising because, again, no, I didn't really see any marketing for this film. But I'm curious to see what it does from week 2 to week 3, because I think there might be some heat coming back on Jonah Hill for one scene in the film, which again, you'll hear about later in this review. So there you go. There's the top 10. Mid-90s, Night School, Smallfoot, First Man, The Hate You Give, Hunter Killer, Goosebumps, 2, Haunted Halloween, number 3, Venom, number 2, Stars Born, and number 1, Halloween. All right, let's go ahead now and jump into the first news story, and the only news story really that we're going to talk about today, because we've got 3 reviews we've got to get to, and we're already at almost 15 minutes into this show. So the news story today is coming to us from Deadline. Star Wars Boba Fett solo movie. We've talked about this solo movie before. Officially canceled, right? They put out a contract on this film and they killed the film. Contract completed. This is kind of a bummer, but kind of not a bummer. I'm in a really mixed spot about this, right? So Jon Favreau is doing the Mandalorian TV series, which I'm very excited about. He's already been putting out some photos, some set photos and stuff like that online, which you can check out if you follow him on Twitter or anything like that. So there's already some nice buzz going on. The directors that they've got coming in for this are going to be pretty good. I'm excited about basically everything I keep seeing about this series. It just looks super good. And because the Mandalorian series is active right now, Kathleen Kennedy in this article from Deadline said that they've officially canceled the Boba Fett solo movie, and they're going to focus everything on the Mandalorian series, which makes sense, right? Because we've talked about it before, pumping the brakes on Star Wars, trying to give us overall better content versus more content, right? So the more content that we get is going to be better, and it's not going to be like a movie every year, right? So that's pretty good because Solo came out and I enjoyed Solo. You can check out my review for it, but it did have some mixed reactions. And there was a lot of turmoil getting that film made. So, but I think Ron Howard did a good job with the final product that we got. Say what you will about Last Jedi. That caused a really big divide and stuff, right? Even The Force Awakens. Some people were split on that. I really like The Force Awakens. I've got the score on my phone. Every now and then Rey's theme will pop on and it's just a great song. So there's a lot of really good stuff that's in Star Wars. There's also some stuff that's caused some mixed reviews and some vitriol and everything like that from people online. So, you know, you just got to kind of take it with a grain of salt. As Star Wars fans, we got to kind of look at it and go, here's some good, here's some bad. That's kind of what you get, right? Sports fans are really good at this because sometimes they have a winning season for their team, and then sometimes their team can just suck terribly for like a decade, right? And they're still fans. So I think with us as movie fans, comic book fans, video games, everything like that, all of the different visual mediums that go into these characters for Star Wars. I think we just got to kind of take a step back and maybe adjust our perspective similar to what sports fans would do, right? You're like, you know, Red Sox haven't done anything this year, and then the next year they win the World Series, or vice versa, or whatever the case may be, right? As a Steelers fan, we have a good year, we don't have a good year, then we win the Super Bowl. So, you know, it is what it is. You just kind of roll with the punches. And I think that's kind of what we need to do as Star Wars fans, more than freak out at everybody online. So here's where I'm kind of bummed, because I was looking forward to a Boba Fett movie if it was going to be kind of like all of the bounty hunters are going after the same thing, but only Boba Fett knows like one special thing about whatever it is that everyone's looking for. So let's just say they have to go after a person, and they've got a contract out on somebody, and they've got to go get that person and bring them back to whoever. Well, that person maybe has like some very important information on Boba Fett, right? And so Boba Fett's got to get there before anybody else, and that's where we get the line. That's where he disintegrates them. And that's why Darth Vader in Empire Strikes Back tells him no disintegration, right? Because maybe the Empire hired him to go get somebody and he just disintegrated the fool, right? Gone. You're donezo. So I was looking forward to like a possibility of that, but nothing really came out to confirm that that was going to happen. These are just ideas I had in my head. So it was kind of like, well, what is this movie going to be? What is the story going to be? That's kind of what I was hoping for. Did it happen? No, it didn't happen, because it's not happening. The movie's canceled. So kind of bummed about that. Hopefully, if they do pick it up, they kind of go that route where all of the bounty hunters, IG-88, Bosk, Embo, like all of these bounty hunters, these super cool looking bounty hunters, are all in this film, and they're all going to like a Cannonball Run style film, and they're all going after the same prize, but the prize is very specific to Boba Fett and Boba Fett's history. So I think it could be super cool. I think it could work if they can get the right people on board to make it work. Leave your comments below. Would you like to see a Boba Fett movie with all of the bounty hunters going crazy, bounty hunter extravaganza, bounty hunter palooza, or not? And if not, what are some of your thoughts? Throw them in the comments section below. All right, that's it for the news today. Like I said, we've got 3 movie reviews coming to you, so we're going to go ahead and move into the movie review segment right now. Again, I got out to the theaters to see 3 films, and that is Hunter Killer, London Fields, and Mid-90s. So stay tuned afterwards. Don't go anywhere. We've got more stuff to talk about, because we are going to look at what's hitting theaters this week, what's arriving on DVD and Blu-ray for your home theater this week, Certified Rad, which is actually a really rad story. It's about a guy who dresses up in costumes to help kids. And we're also going to take a look at 8 films, 8 films, not 10. Did I just blow your mind? Probably. 8 films, not 10, about baseball movies if you want to keep that baseball mojo going now that the World Series is over. So don't go anywhere. We will be right back. We are going to take a look at these movie reviews, and then we will be looking at theaters, DVDs, Certified Rad, and baseball movies. Stay tuned. Be right back. The Russian Navy and the American Navy were not at war with each other, and yet somehow, patrolling through the Arctic, they both lost a ship. A recovery submarine is sent to collect the survivors if there are any, as well as do some recon work. But more torpedoes are mysteriously fired. And that's where this story begins. So, does Hunter Killer deliver on the underwater action promised in the trailers, or should we all just watch down Periscope instead? Let's talk about it in this review. The story is surprisingly more layered than I anticipated, and it moves at a pretty consistent pace. That pace being high energy and high action drama. If the American sub team isn't trying to escape torpedoes, rockets, other destroyers, they're then navigating through an underwater minefield. They're avoiding noise-sensitive bombs. And let's not forget they have to try and put the ship back together while it's taken on water and also on fire. This movie is action-packed, and that is just the underwater portion. Above the water, we've got a Navy SEAL team who has to go off the grid to get into Russia to save the Russian president, who's currently in the middle of a coup. So we've got on land and underwater action happening simultaneously, while also back in Washington, we've got all this political maneuvering going on. This film is non-stop adrenaline and action combined. The film clocks in at 121 minutes, which is just over 2 hours, just barely. And I'm happy to report that this film does not feel that long at all. And I think part of that could be due to the fact that this film really celebrates the action movie genre, because we get plenty of appropriate cheese in this film from certain characters. For example, towards the end of the film, the American submarine captain, Captain Joe Glass, played by Gerald Butler, he decides to not fire rockets at the enemy who is threatening to blow up his ship because, well, he's got a feeling he's relying on hope as well as this lucky coin in his pocket. It makes no sense, but it totally works because this film embraces all of that nonsense that goes into making some of these action movies just excellent fun. So to recap, you're the captain of a US submarine and you have on board, you have a Russian president, you have a Russian captain, and you've got your crew. And you're going to decide to not fire back on the enemy because you have hope and a lucky coin. All right, whatever you say, boss, let's go. There's just little moments like that kind of just thrown throughout this film that just really celebrate dude action films really well. Also, we should take some time just to appreciate the story itself and actually how the story evolves from beginning to end. The premise of the film is basically two submarines, one Russian, one American. They are both attacked, which prompts both governments, the Russian and the American governments, to go on high alert and prepare for war. And as the story unfolds, we find out that it's actually a Russian military leader who is trying to do a coup, and he's trying to gain power for himself, and he's doing this by pitting the two governments of Russia and America against each other in a very James Bond villainy kind of way. In fact, you could just remove all of the Navy SEALs and replace them with James Bond, and I think this movie would have worked just as well. It felt that similar. Because the Navy SEAL team is responsible for extracting the Russian president, and the US Navy is there for recon, collecting any survivors, extracting the Russian president with the help of the Navy SEAL team, and basically trying to prevent World War III. But things don't go exactly as planned, because as the movie progresses, the US Navy and the SEAL team just have one problem after another that they've got to overcome, showing that, again, this film has layers and they actually paid attention to the story to make this a really good action movie. Hunter Killer is playing at your local movie theater right now, and I am definitely recommending a big screen viewing of this film for all of my fellow action movie fans. Truth be told, I walked into this film with very low expectations, and I walked out incredibly surprised and happy with my time in the theater. There's just so much action and ridiculous plot points that totally celebrate these dude action movies. There's cheesy one-liners after an action sequence completes, and again, layers to the story showing that the writers paid attention. However, there was one scene where three Russians are about to execute a US Navy SEAL, and all of a sudden they break from speaking Russian to suddenly speaking English. It was kind of weird. So I can't give all the high fives, and Hunter Killer will be getting both high fives from this guy instead. Hunter Killer is playing at your local movie theater right now. Check it out. A writer has moved to London to take in the city as he writes his next book. He is staying in a luxurious flat that is currently in the process of a remodel. And he decides on his first night in town he should go visit a pub, and that is where this story begins. So, does London Fields deliver on the detective noir style hinted at in the trailers? Or is the best of London better seen in person? Let's talk about it in this review. The story is told through the perspective of writer Samson Young, played by Billy Bob Thornton. He's new to London, and he is looking to take in all of the city has to offer, as well as observe the people in the city to help write his next book. Upon entering the pub, he has encounters with two men and a lady who will, in some fashion, be creative fuel to the fire that helps write his next book. Little does he know that he will be more than just a simple observer. As he moves about town getting to know these three individuals in their life, he becomes intertwined in a game of mental, emotional, and sexual manipulation. And while he's aware that this game is going on, he is unaware that he has become part of it until very late, very, very late in the film. One big strength this film has is how we're introduced to one of the main characters, Nicholas Six, played by Amber Heard, immediately. And we're also told the plot of the story right there at the beginning. She claims to be a clairvoyant who can predict her death. From there, we're introduced to all the other characters in this film, and as the story progresses, we can kind of see all the puzzle pieces coming together to kind of see how things are all going to work out. And by the end of the film, We can have a spirited debate about whether or not Nicola is actually a clairvoyant, or is she more just a champion of the power of belief? By stating her death is going to happen on a certain date, she begins setting in motion the people and events that would ultimately lead to her demise. And she's able to do this because she is a master manipulator. And throughout the film, we see this as we see her transform and become the specific woman that each one of these men need in order for her to get what she wants or to get what she predicts. She enjoys being watched, she enjoys the attention, and Amber plays this role beautifully. By the end of the film, I had to be reminded that this film is actually about writer Samson Young and not Nicola. Because just like Nicola commands the attention of her suitors, so did she also command the attention of the audience. Amber Heard delivers a great performance. Another strength this film has is the cast, and as I just stated, one of those cast members was Amber Heard. Billy Bob Thornton, Cara Delevingne, Gemma Chan, Jamie Alexander, Jim Sturgis, Johnny Depp, and more. Say what you will about Depp's personal life, he's still a talented actor, and we get a dose of that in this film. The different worlds that are created for each of these characters and how they intertwine also felt very believable. And each one of them felt unique, but they all still worked when put together. There's the posh upper lifestyle. There's a blue-collar man borrowing money from loan sharks, and he's trying to win a dart championship. Yes, that's right, a throwing dart championship. And we have the writer in his borrowed flat. And throughout all of these different lifestyles, we get to watch Nicola just wind her way in and out with ease. And in doing so, she ends up taking away from each of these men the one thing that they hold dear or long for. Except for Samson. She and he appear to be kindred spirits, and we don't find out until late in the movie how or why that is. She can't break a broken man, and she does try. Boy, does she try. In all, this story actually celebrates the idea that if you believe in something enough, ultimately you can make it happen. However, after getting exactly what you want, you might discover that the cost of it was more than it's worth. In other words, the juice was not worth the squeeze. Nicola isn't the devil, and these three men aren't in a spiritual battle for their souls. But they all longed for something, and she was able to provide that to them for a price. A non-monetary price. Guy was finally able to feel alive. Keith was able to pay off his debts and finally make it on television. And Samson, well, he got the perfect muse for his book. London Fields is playing at your local movie theater right now, and I am recommending a big screen viewing of this film. There is plenty of digestible material in this movie that you can discuss in length afterwards if you see it with one or more friends. In short, this film has layers. The visual style is modern detective noir, with unfortunately some noticeable green screen backgrounds, but overall the visuals are pretty good. Amber Heard delivers a unique and memorable femme fatale that I believe people will be talking about for a while if you take my advice and see this film. So because of that, London Fields will be getting both high fives from this guy. London Fields is playing at your local movie theater right now. Check it out. Life can be a challenging course to navigate, especially if you feel like you don't have one particular group that you can belong to. Maybe you don't have a friend or group that you click with. Maybe your home life is less than ideal. And maybe you find some folks that you finally click with, you can laugh with, and you can skateboard with. And that's where this story begins. So, does mid-90s deliver on the story of a boy who's lonely and looking for friendship, or is this just one long commercial for skateboarding? Let's talk about it in this review. This film was written and directed by Jonah Hill. In this story, we meet 13-year-old Stevie, who's played by Sonny Suljic. He is the youngest of two children, and his older brother Ian, played by Lucas Hedges, is an angry and violent sibling. He seems to take out his frustrations on his younger brother almost daily. And they're both children to a single mother, played by Catherine Waterston. The family dynamic leaves him with a sense of loneliness. That is until one day, when he sees some fellow teenagers skateboarding around and he decides to go ahead and meet them. And that's really where this story shines, is in that brand new dynamic that's created between Stevie and his new skateboarding buddies. And Sonny does a great job showcasing all of the excitement and all of the joy you get with new friendship. All the smiles he delivers on having these new friends was believable. Also, on the flip side of that, the anger and frustration that he feels when his mom confronts him and his friends about drinking and smoking, that was intense and also believable. In all, the film's success might not be in the story of belonging and finding kindred spirits, but more towards Hill's ability as a director to pull out these performances from his actors that feel genuine and believable. The on-screen chemistry he is able to get from these actors was grade A. The story is written in a very direct and to the point style. We move from point A to point B in about 84 minutes. So the movie wastes no time telling this story in just under an hour and a half. We meet the characters, we understand the settings that this film takes place in, we understand the friendship and family dynamics. And this was done in two ways. First, we have spoken dialogue that explains to us why certain characters behave the way they do. For example, it's explained to us that the character Ruben is beaten and the character Fourth Grade is incredibly poor. The second way is through dramatic performance. Lucas Hedges is able to deliver incredible anger, rage, and fear. Sonny is able to deliver all of the feelings, all of the emotions, including rock bottom. As we see in one scene, he's trying to strangle himself to death with a Super Nintendo cord. The film delicately balances these two methods incredibly well. In all, the story does a great job of showing us what life is like for these teenagers at this one specific point in time. But I'm gonna go ahead and say it again. Hill's directing ability to pull out these incredibly believable performances from the actors was definitely the high point for me in this film. And by the end of the film, we see that family and friendship can run hand in hand. Even after a fight, an embarrassment, a tragedy, family and friends will always be there. And maybe, just maybe, remembering the good times will help you get through the bad times. Mid-90s is playing at your local movie theater right now, and I'm actually not going to recommend a big screen viewing of this film. For everything that I enjoyed about this film that you just heard in this review, there was one scene in particular that I think was unnecessary and could actually lessen the impact that this film has at the box office. Teenagers drinking and smoking, we have seen before in countless films. However, when Hill decided as the director to go ahead and show two teenagers undressing each other on the big screen, I felt that was kind of weird. We as the audience understand when she takes his hand and walks him back to the bedroom, what's about to happen. So go ahead and cut from the door closing to the next scene where we see the girls in one room talking about what happened and the boys outside also talking. And I understand what this film was going for in creating a sense of believability for these teenagers at this point in their life. But I feel like Hill is going to take some heat for that creative decision, and I feel like that could have all been avoided if, again, once the door closes, cut from that all the way out to the girls talking and then the boys talking. Something similar to what we got from Summer Lovin' in the musical Grease. In my opinion, we don't need to see teenagers undressing each other, and I'm not even sure why Hill would want to direct that scene. Other than that one scene, I thought the rest of the movie before and after was done incredibly well. But unfortunately, that one scene was enough to ruin the momentum this film was making, and when that scene started, I honestly thought to myself,
it's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
So because of that, Mid-90s will only be getting one high five from this guy. Mid-90s is playing at your local movie theater right now. Check it out. All right, and we're back. Thank you everybody for sticking around this long. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, go ahead and give me the thumbs up. The thumbs up helps people who like movie-related shows find this movie-related show right here on YouTube. Let's go ahead now and jump into what is hitting theaters this week for us to check out. So coming out this week, we have The Nutcracker in the Four Realms, Nobody's Fool, and Bohemian Rhapsody. Out of these three films, I am excited to see Nutcracker in the Four Realms. I think this film looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. Looks like it's going to have some crazy, unique world building, similar to what like a Tim Burton style, which I am a fan of. So looking forward to Nutcracker. Definitely looking forward to Bohemian Rhapsody. As a musician myself, loved Queen growing up, still love Queen today. An incredibly talented band, incredibly talented vocalist in Freddie Mercury, probably one of the greatest, if not the greatest, rock singers of all time. Yeah, so definitely looking forward to Bohemian Rhapsody and the Nutcracker. Nobody's Fool looks like it's going to be an okay, fun, goofball comedy about family and just kind of, you know, being there for family based off of the trailers. But the two that I am excited for, Nutcracker and Bohemian Rhapsody. All right, coming out on DVD and Blu-ray this week, we have Teen Titans Go to the movies, Mandy, Slender Man, Spy Who Dumped Me, and The Darkest Minds. Out of these 5 films hitting DVD, I saw and reviewed The Spy Who Dumped Me. So if you want to hear more about that film, you can go ahead and check that out in the movie review playlist. Teen Titans Go to the movies. I did want to see. I don't know why I didn't get out to see it. I may have been out of the country when that came out. But I did want to see that. I know my nieces and nephews like Teen Titans Go. So I might just rent that and do a family night with them. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Or I just might watch it myself. Who knows? The Darkest Minds look good. The Darkest Minds look like a really cool kind of off-brand and offshoot of like the X-Men franchise. So looking forward to seeing The Darkest Mind. Mandy, I heard, was just a wild, crazy trip of an action movie kind of deal with Nicolas Cage. I might check that out one night. I'm not sure. But Slender Man definitely won't be seeing. Not a horror guy at all. But out of these films, looking forward to The Darkest Minds and Teen Titans Go to the Movies. If you have seen these 5 movies, go ahead and leave your comments in the comments section below. And let me know what you thought about any of these films that are coming out on DVD this week. All right, so we are going to move now into the last segment here where we're going to take a look at Certified Rad. But before we do that, let me go ahead and give you guys my top 8 films, not top 8, but 8 films that I saw and I thought, you know, these are pretty good baseball movies. So I'm going to give you those right now. If you are a baseball fan and you're a movie fan, you're probably happy that the World Series was going on. You're probably bummed out today that baseball's over for a while, till at least spring training. So here's some films that you can watch if you're a baseball fan and you're also a movie fan. So my 8 films for you are Major League, Field of Dreams, The Sandlot, The Bad News Bears, For the Love of the Game, Moneyball, 42, and Rookie of the Year. So different types of films, each one of them about baseball. Go ahead and check those out one more time, just real quick, rapid fire. Boom, 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 boom. Major League, Field of Dreams, The Sandlot, Bad News Bears, For the Love of the Game, Moneyball, 42, and Rookie of the Year. All right, there you go. Baseball fans, fret not. Baseball season might be over, but you still have some great baseball movies you can enjoy. So check them out. All right, let's go ahead and move into Certified Rad this week. If you are new to the show, Certified Rad is a news story, an article, a book, a piece of tech gear. It doesn't matter what it is. If I find it, if someone sends it to me, I'll look it over. If it's rad, we certify it rad every week right here on this channel. And this week, again, the Good News Network shines for us to give us more good news, as their website suggests. So the Good News Network is bringing us a story. And again, you can check this article out down below in the description box. Man wears monster costumes for 3 days straight in order to save sick children. So the story itself is certified rad, but also since it's Halloween time, I thought, what better story to talk about than a guy who dresses up in a Halloween costume to help save kids' lives. So let's dive into this story, right? Good News Network bringing it to us. Now, this man's name is Ravi Kadapati, and he has spent the last 5 years dressing up as mythological creatures and movie monsters to raise children for families who can't afford life-saving surgeries. So these families have kids that have to go into the hospital for whatever reason. Something's going wrong inside, right? They might die, which is terrible. And they need money to get these surgeries done so that they can live and grow old and have their own life, right? And keep their families happy, right? Because no family wants to lose a kid. That's just not good news. So this guy dresses up in costumes, as we just heard, mythological creatures, movie monsters, and he helps raise money so that these people can get their kids the surgeries they need because now they have the funds to do so. That is super certified rad. Shut it down. Super certified rad. So going through, it talks about the different costumes he wore. He took one costume. It took him a month to make it, and it took 12 hours to put it on. Once he had the costume on, he wore it for 36 hours straight. And while he was wearing it, he couldn't eat or drink at all during this festival that he was at raising the money. And he was able to raise over $113,000 in 1 day's worth, 36 hours. So a day and a half of wearing this costume, not being able to eat or drink anything. This guy put in work, right? He put his feet down and said, I've got work to do. I'm going to do this work. And he raised over $100,000 in 36 hours, just dressed up as in a costume to help these kids. And when you see the need and you see something that you're passionate about and you are able to kind of combine those two things to help save people's lives, you can guarantee that is certified rad. So check that story out down below, the Good News Network. bringing us good news as their website title suggests. All right, everybody, I'm Jeremy Brunansky. That is it for this week's episode of Brunansky's Vlog. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Again, don't forget to click the subscribe button, hit the bell so you get the notifications when new content drops, because we have recently added movie trailer reviews to this channel. So that is a new playlist. You can check it out down there. If you're curious about what movies are coming out, I'm reviewing those trailers and throwing them up on the channel for you. So go ahead and check those out. Also, don't forget to give me the thumbs up if you enjoyed the show. The thumbs up helps people who like movie-related shows find this movie-related show right here on YouTube. And finally, if you want to start your own YouTube channel, your own Facebook live stream, or your own Twitch channel, down below in the description box, I threw some entry-level stuff I think you might want to check out to get you started, to get your content growing on the internet. Thank you guys so much. Again, I'm Jeremy Brunansky. We'll see you next Monday at 10 a.m. PST right here on YouTube with another brand new episode of Brunansky's Vlog. Make sure you're following us on Twitter as well, at Brunansky's Vlog. And we will see you next Monday right here on YouTube, 10 a.m. PST. Until next time, and as always, folks, I hope you have a happy Halloween, and most importantly, good night and good luck. Hey everyone, I'm Jeremy Brunansky with Brunansky's Vlog, and you've just finished watching another brand new episode right here on YouTube. Did you enjoy it? Oh, you loved it. Fantastic. Since you loved it so much, go ahead and give me that thumbs up, because the thumbs up helps people who like movie-related shows find this movie-related show right here on YouTube. Also, don't forget to click subscribe and hit the bell so you get notifications when new content drops. For example, I made a short film, and you can check it out right over there, and any other number of things, DVD reviews, movie reviews, etc. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next Monday at 10 a.m. PST right here on YouTube. Take care. Bye-bye.